She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We are really blessed that you decided to join us today and every day. Hopefully you've been tapping into this resource for you. Hey, today we're going to be talking about an important characteristic for your success, because here on the Dani Johnson Show daily, we are uncovering and pulling off all the rubble of all the lies that our society has put on you concerning success, and we're going to help you to define what success looks like for you. You see, so many people don't realize that they've got a destiny out there in front of them. The destiny is calling out to them. The destiny is calling out to you personally. Every day, there's something inside of you saying there has to be more to life than the way I'm living. There has to be more to this life than what I'm doing. That's your destiny calling out to you. And so part of the reasons why we add all of this rubble on top of ourselves and we get so clouded and so confused is because society is trying to tell us and paint a picture for us that doesn't fit the calling that we have. That calling that was put in us when we were knitted together in our mother's womb. So boldness. Yes, boldness is an important part for your success. There are times where you need to be bold. Even if you don't have a bold personality, there is a time where boldness has got to come out of your mouth, because if it doesn't, well, then you become a doormat. If you're one of those people that hates confrontation and you'll do anything to avoid it, I'm challenging you today that boldness is a skill set that you can learn. It actually is something you can learn. It doesn't mean being brassy or pushy, but it simply means being truthful. And being bold also means having integrity. It does. These two things go together. Not brassy, not arrogant. That's not what I mean by bold. I'm talking about a real boldness, the right kind of boldness, not the egotistical, brassy, pushy, pressuring kind of boldness maybe that we've seen throughout the world today. Robert Frost said it best, I think. He says, freedom lies in being bold. Isn't that true? You see, you boldly have to go after your dreams and your goals. You boldly have to press through resistance to achieve that goal of becoming debt-free completely, including your mortgage, within the next 5 to 7 years. It's going to take boldness. It's going to take boldness for you to get that next position in your career that you're going after. It's going to take boldness to get married if you're single. Yeah. It's going to take boldness to raise kids that can function in society. And even after they've made some huge mistakes, it's going to take boldness for them to rise up, bootstrap it, and go after what it is that they're called to go after. So I have a question for you. What does boldness look like to you? And would you consider yourself to be a bold person or not to be a bold person? And do you feel that being bold is not a good idea? We've asked this question on Facebook, and we have some people on hold right now that are ready to talk about that. We're going to go to Chad in Kansas first off. Chad, how do you feel about boldness? And do you think it's right, or do you think it's wrong, or are you indifferent about that topic?
Danny, Jesus said in John 7:18 that whoever speaks on their own does so to gain personal glory, but he who seeks the glory of the one who sent him is the man of truth, and there is nothing false in it. 18 in the Bible represents bondage, and 7 represents God's covenant. So 18 would actually speak to you to bring you into bondage to themselves. So that would be somebody that would be like overly bold, like you're saying. And then when God would speak his covenant over you, which would be 7, it would set you free. So God is always there. You know, he has a boldness about him, but his boldness is different than like an overpowering boldness. It's a boldness that will empower us.
Yes.
You know, like the Beatitudes, it says that if you think of the Beatitudes like a seed that you plant and a harvest that you reap, it would be blessed are those who sow the seeds of meekness, for they will reap a harvest of inheriting the earth. So you're sowing these seeds of meekness into the world, and so you're going about your business with others' personal best interest in mind in yourself, and that's going to cause you to come up higher. Yep. So it's not about, you know, pushing others around like you are, but it's about lifting others up as you go through, using your power to establish others in yourself.
Yep.
I think, and
So let's talk about that, because I think that largely people feel like that if they're to be meek, that means they forfeit boldness.
No.
Not at all.
No. Meekness is just, it's being who you are, but being useful in who you are, being powerful and purposeful, the lion and the lamb,
Yeah.
So meekness is great strength. It's not I'm going to come in and tell everybody what to do type of thing. It's more of I'm going to be able to empower others and empower myself in a useful way.
Yeah. So boldness is not bossiness.
No.
And people confuse them.
It's a willingness, to get along. God does everything in a relationship. He needs a relationship in order to establish who he is. So, God needs that relationship. There's no reason for him to, be bossy when he needs somebody in a relationship with him. He knows how to get along with others. And that's what I think is the greatest thing about God, is that his desire to get along with others, and he wants others to come up higher.
Yep.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Absolutely agree.
Psalms 23, there's one thing, like Psalms 23:2, it says that he leads me beside peaceful streams. And the sheep and the shepherds lead them, they don't go near rough waters. The rough waters scare them. So when we have what's called a stream of thought, if you have Psalms 23:2, and then if you take 2 times 3, it equals 5, or 2 plus 3, it equals 5. If you want to take 5 times 2, you equal 10. That would give you John 10:5. And John 10:5, if you put it together, says that they won't follow the voice of the stranger, but they'll run from him. So voices of the strangers are like rough waters to us. And both of those numbers, they add up to 10:5. And it goes all the way through the Bible. I can find different, John 10:5, 2 Corinthians 10:5, Hebrews 10:23 comes together with 10:5, and all of them come together to say, the voice you hear is very important, and you don't want a dominating voice. God is a peaceful voice. He's going to lead you into peaceful thoughts and peaceful streams. Streams that will profit us and profit others. So, I could go on and on and on, but
thanks so much, Chad, for your input. And I absolutely agree with you in that meekness doesn't mean we forfeit boldness. And boldness is not brassy and it's not bossy. Boldness is you stand for what is right and you fight with a fierceness for righteousness and truth, that you do not try to push that on people, but that you stand. And in your standing, you are setting an example for that. You see, we all have a brand out there. Every single one of us, we represent something. And either we represent the bossy, arrogant, pushy, pressure cooker, or we represent someone who stands firm on what they believe in. And so a lot of people they get so confused with this understanding between meekness and boldness, or humility and boldness, that if someone is bold and they're not humble, that's the furthest thing from the truth. If somebody is truly humble, they are bold. They're absolutely bold. They will not stand down in the place of unrighteousness or wickedness. They will not stand down in the place of injustice, that they will boldly stand for the just. They will boldly stand for right ruling. They will boldly stand for the protection of the poor and helping those that are in need. That takes boldness to do that. And that is exactly what you need in order to succeed. Chad, thank you so much for your input today. So good, so rich. I love it. Okay, we got Cindy in Wisconsin. Cindy, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. This is Cindy. I gave the comment that boldness with courage stemming from a deep faith is what we want to see. Their integrity is evident. And I recently had some experience with someone who was really over-the-top bold, but it was more for the purpose of getting what that person wanted. And I've had to work through that over the last year, and it's taught me so much about that quality. And then just this last Sunday, our pastor preaches on meekness, just what you addressed, and no surprise. So it's just, sometimes you see in the people in the world that they're trying to prove something, or they want their needs met, so they just do whatever they can to get that need met. And they're just overly bold, and they can come across rude and disrespectful.
But see, look at what you're saying, though, Cindy, because what you're doing is you're addressing boldness with arrogance or pushiness or pressure. They're not the same.
Yeah.
They're not the same. So what you're saying is you're seeing brassy, pushy, and pressure. Because again, boldness, the Bible says this. I can't believe we're talking about it like this, but this is so good. Okay. Ancient wisdom tells us this, that the righteous are as bold as a lion. Okay, so this is where Chad and I maybe don't agree on everything, okay? Because Chad was saying, bold is kind of quiet. No, the righteous are as bold as a lion. Lion's boldness. Is he bold when he's sleeping? When he's purring? No. When you think of the boldness of a lion, it's like, roar, you know what I mean? It's a roar. It's a stance.
Yep.
Okay. But what you're talking about is this, that when a heart of selfishness is trying to get what they want, that individual that has a heart of selfishness, self-centeredness, then they will be brassy, arrogant, pushy, manipulate, control, pressure people. That's not bold. That's just arrogant, brassy, and pushy.
Yeah.
Boldness is, I'm standing for what is right, noble, pure, praiseworthy, justice, righteousness, truth. And I will come unglued in the face of evil and boldly go against it. There is a separation there, is what I'm saying. There is a separation there.
Right.
And the meek are bold.
I think as we develop in our relationship with God, that those things will come.
They do. Naturally. Naturally they come.
Right now.
Yes. As he works out this self-centeredness, right? The greed, the narcissistic way of living. I'm thinking about myself constantly. I love me, I love me, I love me, I love me. I think about how I look. I check the mirror every 20 minutes. I take 7,000 selfies of myself and I post it on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook, and every other place. I'm constantly showing everybody myself, constantly thinking of myself. I dream about myself. Ugh. As God works those things out of us, as that stuff gets pushed out and he becomes more prevalent inside of us and our number one priority, now we can be as bold as a lion without being arrogant. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more about boldness in your success right after this. Hi, this is Dani Johnson. Let me ask you something. How many weddings have you been to in the last year? A bunch, right? Think about it. Wedding bells ringing, champagne flowing, and the bride looking like a model on the biggest day of her life. So that's where there will always be a need for skilled hair and makeup professionals. Why couldn't that be you? The key is getting the right training. XMHBeauty.com does workshops giving that training. Xtina Harmsworth has a track record of results as a professional makeup artist in Hollywood, working with some of the biggest names. One makeup artist recently had the confidence to book 3 weddings after attending Xtina's workshop, and then reported that she handled 7 bridal clients on location in one day. That's serious cash. You don't have to move to Hollywood to make serious cash as a makeup and hair artist. Go visit XMHBeauty.com today. Again, that's XMHBeauty.com. So get to that site immediately and start following your dream. XMHBeauty.com. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org. kingsransom.org.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Boldness. Seems to be a little bit of a controversial conversation there. It seems that some religious people might have some judgment against those that are bold. And they assume that if somebody is outspoken, well then by golly, they must be arrogant. They must be self-centered. I'm telling you, there isn't something further from the truth. True boldness is a righteousness. True boldness is integrity. Without boldness, you will not fight with fierceness for your family. But instead, you'll be weak, dormant, lifeless. Now, yes, there are self-centered people out there who are rude, outspoken for their rudeness and self-centeredness, but that's not who you're supposed to be. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, we bring you content every day that helps to reveal the truth about true success to you. You see, true success is not about houses and cars and things. Yes, some successful people have houses, cars, and things. And it is possible to have houses, cars, and things without being completely consumed with them. Unfortunately, most people who have those things are consumed with them. And people who don't have those things are consumed with getting them. And they spend their lives in selfishness, trying to gratify everything, all of their selfish desires. And that is not success. But true success is A, knowing what your priorities should be and living them. B, knowing and being true to yourself, who you are, who you were designed to be. There's a destiny calling out of you. It was planted inside of you since you were knitted together in your mother's womb. This calling that is urging you to do something with your life. Instead of sacrificing your family for success in business and finances, learning new strategies to keep that in balance. And instead of sacrificing good character and integrity, instead, you cling to what is right, good, noble, and pure and praiseworthy. You live in truth instead of doing what everybody else is doing out there. So today on the Dani Johnson Show, we are talking about the character trait of boldness and really defining what is it? What does it actually look like? Is it important to have in order to be successful? Absolutely it is. Have you ever encountered someone who considered themselves to be bold? What does that actually look like? What does boldness express to you? If you've met someone that is bold, what does it express to you? What does it communicate to you? We've got Julie on the line from Chicago. Julie, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani.
So what does boldness look like to you? What does it communicate to you?
Boldness communicates to me that someone is at peace with who they are and what they believe and what they stand for. They know why they're here, what their calling is. Even if they don't know, they know where to go. They know, for me, they know that God will show them where to go.
This is very, very true. And when something comes against that, how does someone who is bold respond? Do they cower or do they stand?
No, they stand. They stand because, the Lord is the only God there is. And if He's with them, surely God is with you, and there is no other. Why back down? The boldness comes from the Spirit of the living God.
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And so many people. Julie, have you ever been afraid to be bold?
Yes. Yes, definitely. But when I have my time with the Lord and I take to Him what either the problem is or the situation is, and I know that my heart is right before God, then I know that it doesn't matter what anyone else says or what happens around me.
That's exactly right.
Because I answer to Him. I answer to Him, and I know the end of the story.
Yes.
And I know what my calling is,
Yes.
and that's to serve my God.
Yes, 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 and yes, 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 1,000 times yes. I love it, Julie. Because we all are going to encounter times. You see, people think that, okay, well, either I have boldness or I don't. That's nonsense. If you are walking with your God, you have boldness. If you stand for what's right, noble, pure, and just, then guess what? Boldness is going to naturally come at you because everything else on the outside of you is trying to come against those things. And so we are called to be bold for those things and to stand and to fight for those things. Not to sit back, not to cower, not to shut up, but to stand and to speak out and tell the truth. Could you imagine if everyone did that? Wow, it'd be amazing. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
More than just a radio show. This is the Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS. Are you ready for a whole new mindset? This is the Dani Johnson Show.
It takes boldness in order for you to have success. It takes boldness to start a business or to venture out and go after a brand new career. It takes boldness to do something important with your life. It also takes boldness to say, no, I'm not going to work 60 hours a week. It takes boldness to say, yes, I stand for my faith and I stand for my God. And I am not ashamed to say that I believe in the Messiah. That takes boldness. And I believe that all of us are called to boldness and to not mix boldness with rudeness. Yes. I think it also takes boldness to stand for the poor. Yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does. You see, listen. Many people much rather take the easier route, the road most traveled. I think that was Robert Frost that wrote that. I think so. Anyway, most people like to go that direction. Most people are looking for, I don't want to encounter any resistance. I don't want to make anybody mad. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. If you ain't ruffling people's feathers, you ain't doing squat. Do you understand? You were not put on this planet to just not ruffle feathers. You're put on this planet to stand for truth, to stand for something that is noble, to stand for something that is good. You're here to make a difference in the world, not suck up oxygen and make everybody happy. You will never reach your destiny if your goal is to make everybody happy. You cannot make everybody happy. It's impossible. People have different types of opinions. They have judgments inside of them. They judge people. They got jealousy. Their hearts are jealous and envious. So they're going to speak out of that. And they'll speak against you out of their jealousy. They'll speak against you out of their judgment. Happens to me all the time. I love this one, especially when we're live at First Steps to Success. Right away, I head up on that stage. There'll be 1,000 people in the room, and here's what happens. Oh, I know how the millionaire's making her money. No, she doesn't get paid to speak for those 3 days and nights. No, she doesn't. 100% of the money, 100% of the profits from wherever it is that I speak goes straight to taking care of the poor. So again, people will sit there and they will judge, out of their own jealousy and the evil that's inside of their own hearts, and prejudge things and cut themselves off from actually being blessed and benefited by something because of their jealousy. So you can't please everybody. You can't. People are jacked up, but you got to stand for something. You got to stand for what's right. And it was really interesting when years ago, in fact, Secret Millionaire, I don't know if you saw the episode. You can actually see it on our website. If you go to our website, you want to see the episode that we were on. Incredible show, incredible, amazing messaging that ABC put out a couple of years ago. It really is phenomenal. You should see it. But it really is about going undercover and being in a city or a place where there's some extreme poor people. Extreme for our country. I'm not saying extreme on world standards, but extreme in our country. And I went in for a few days and I volunteered inside of 3 different organizations. They didn't know that I was actually vetting them out to see if they were somebody that I would want to be able to help out financially. If they were doing a good work in the community, then I would want to give something to them. They had no idea who I was, had no idea that I was a business person, no idea that I was an author, nothing. I just looked like the mom that I am every day in my town that I live in, just like, just living normal like I normally do. So anyway, so we go into that place and we begin, I begin volunteering. At the end of the week, then I wrote a check. I wrote several checks to 3 different organizations, totaling of about $130,000. And so there's $30,000 that didn't end up on the show, but it was for $130,000 that we gave. So anyway, it took boldness to do that. And I'm telling you, I was scared to death to do that. I didn't want people to know that I took care of the poor. I was very cautious, and I kind of, did everything in secret because that's what my Bible said in this one little passage versus the rest of the book that tells us very boldly to do that and to set an example of caring for the poor. So anyway, it took a lot of courage. It really did. I was like, oh, I don't want anyone to know that I'm doing this. We've been giving in secret. We give millions in secret. I don't want anyone to know. But then I'm telling you, I got so convicted that here I was hiding where I should have been setting a bold example as a business person, as a business woman, as a mother, as a wife, that I should be standing and representing the voice of the voiceless, just like the people in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. Those precious people have no voice in your ears, none. They're suffering greatly. Just down the road from Pablo and Sandra, recently, a house, it wasn't a house, it was a dwelling. You can't call it a house because it's not a house. It's just a bunch of scrap wood and some scrap metal put together by mud, okay? And termites are eating this stuff. So like part of it feels like paper. You touch it, your finger goes all the way through the entire wall, if that's what you call it, because it's really not a wall. So anyway, wind blows, whoosh, it's over. Dirt floors, okay? Just, it's bad. No kitchen, no bathroom, no electricity. Do you understand what I'm saying? So anyway, so here, this family, right down the road from them, a woman who was 8 months pregnant, in the middle of the night, their house sank into the ground because their dwelling is on top of a mine. And so here it sank all the way down. I mean, think about that. And so here Pablo is saying, every night I am tormented. My wife and I, we do shifts of sleeping because we don't want to die in the middle of the night like our friend did with her 8-month pregnant baby inside of her womb. And so this kind of torment that they have no voice in your ears unless I say something to you, right? And it takes boldness to stand for the poor. Oh, yes, I get judged by all kinds of people, especially the religious. You're not supposed to let anyone know you're doing that. Listen, Jesus wrote that very passage about the heart. About the heart. If you're giving to get praise from man, then you already got your reward in full. That's not what we're doing here. We're bringing a voice for the voiceless out to those people who have ears and hearts to hear and to feel the pain and the suffering of somebody that's not too far away from us, and that we can bring safety and food and water and a brand new life for these people, no longer being tormented in fear. Could you imagine being a part of a group of people that is transforming an entire village? Listen, there's a group of us, a large group of us. I'd love for you to join us in that group and stand boldly for the poor. Stand boldly for those who have no voice in this country. Stand boldly for the hungry, for the orphan. Stand boldly for the widow. Stand boldly, and be the voice for the voiceless. You can do that right now if you want. Go to kingsransom.org and find out more about this project. It's Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. It's right there on the homepage. It's huge. It's like half of the front page. It says Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. Click on that. It's a beautiful picture of a beautiful Nicaraguan little girl. And click there, and then you can read about it. Or you can go directly to grouprev.com/Santa Pancha. That's SantaPancha. Or if you want to talk to King's Ransom on the phone and find out more, you can dial 888-291-7123. You want to boldly stand for a cause that is worth living for, worth getting out of bed for, versus the cause of shopping at the mall this weekend. 888-291-7123. And by the way, while you're there, instead of buying lunch today, maybe fast lunch today. If you're like most of us, we can skip a meal. You know what I'm saying? Give the $5 you normally would spend going out, or even the $10 that you were going to spend going to the movies. Don't go to the movies. Use one of the videos you have in your house and give the $10, because every dollar helps. $1 could help putting one brick for the new house that we're going to build these families like Pablo and Sandra, okay? One brick can be bought for $5 or $10, okay? So we're gonna build them a brand new home. $5,200 is all it takes. You might be able to write a check right now for $5,200. Wouldn't that be awesome? Imagine how good you're gonna feel. We had one woman at our last First Steps to Success. Check this out, it's crazy. She had saved $5,000 to purchase, to put a down payment on for her first house. She was in her 30s. And she said, the first house I'm gonna buy is not going to be for myself now. I'm going to buy a house for these extreme poor people in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. How noble is that? How bold is that? How amazing is that? That's one of those moments that if somebody ever asked you, what's your proudest moment you've ever had in your life? This would definitely be in the top 5. That instead of buying myself a house, instead of buying my first house for me, I bought the first house for somebody else. Could you imagine if the world was filled with people like that woman? Come on now. Listen, we can do something, right? $5, $10, $20, $100, or you might be able to write a check for $5,200, or you could write a check for $52,000 and help build 10 homes for 10 families that are in extreme high risk of losing their lives at any moment. I'm not kidding you, at any moment. Okay, so go to kingsransom.org right now. Hit the button for Santa Pancha and do whatever it is that you can. All right, so that is boldness, right? It takes boldness to represent people that you do not know. It does. That was bold of that woman to say, I'm going to deny myself and I'm going to help somebody else. That takes boldness. This is the kind of boldness and the kind of leadership that I believe we need in the world today. Wouldn't you agree with that? Come on, right? Would you also agree that we don't see that very often, and we certainly don't hear about that very often? Well, right here on the Dani Johnson Show, you're going to hear about it a lot. We'll continue with more about boldness and that characteristic of leadership right after this.
Do you know what's been holding you back? The way you think. It's time to take on a whole new mindset. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
But Dani, people are going to make fun of me if I boldly go after what I want. Who cares? Really? This is Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're talking about the characteristic of boldness, not mixing it up or confusing it with rudeness. It takes boldness in order for you to go after your dreams. It really does. It takes boldness for you to stand for what is good, right, noble, and pure. Without boldness, you will not reach your destiny, my friend. And right here every single day on the Dani Johnson Show, we are bringing you messaging and teaching and strategies, as well as reminders of things that you might have forgotten about, that you left behind a long time ago, like your dreams, that you might have buried somewhere because somebody came against you when you were boldly standing for it. Friend, listen, man, I got all kinds of people standing against my dreams. That's life. That's totally life. Listen, you could either, be bold about your favorite TV show, or you could be bold about changing the world. You might as well do something that's worthwhile versus standing for some stupid television show. Unless, of course, it's this one. I'm kidding. Totally kidding. Anyway, have you ever had somebody come against you when you boldly stood for your dream? Have you ever had someone come against you because you've boldly stood for something that was important, or you made a real bold change in your life? You know, it could be like, you know what? I'm going to quit drinking alcohol, right? If that was your personal conviction, I'm done. Or this one, I love this one. I love this one. I love this one. I am not having sex before marriage. You know, when people take a stand boldly like that, then they're standing for righteousness. They're standing against, you know, venereal disease. They're standing against having a teen pregnancy like I did, right? I had a teen pregnancy. If I had to do it all over again, would not have done that one. On top of 1,000 other things that I probably should not have done. No, not probably, definitely should not have done. But yeah, have you ever had people stand against you when you stood for something? If you have, then you're on the right path of success, no question. We got Jen from New Hampshire with some comments about boldness. Jen, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you. I found the Facebook post interesting where it asked if people had called themselves bold and then walked all over us. And I could probably come up with a number of stories about that. But I wanted to make a comment that I feel like it's almost an unfortunate cultural trend right now, where we're saturated with this in the media, in movies, TV, where it's almost comedy, or it's almost just commonplace and funny to be rude. Yeah. And so someone comes at you and is making some sort of a comment, starting with, there's no offense, but, or I just like to tell it like it is. And then you feel like you've been sucker punched because then it's really just an excuse to pass judgment.
Yep. Man.
And
you know what, Jen? I got to tell you something. Right when you started talking about our culture and the cultural trend of boldness, it's not boldness. It's a cultural trend of rudeness. It is. I mean, come on, we see it, right? You were saying, we see this cultural rudeness in sitcoms. We see the cultural rudeness in some radio shows that are totally sexual. We see this cultural rudeness in movies. This is not boldness. And here's what happens, is that those who want to be moral, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. They completely throw the baby out with the bathwater. And now the religious judge true righteous boldness, and they say, I don't want to be like that. No, what you're seeing in the movies, especially with all the sexual content, that's total rudeness. That's rude. That's flat out disgusting. It is. I hate it with a passion. Ugh, do I hate it with a passion. And there's some people around me, we don't see eye to eye on that. We just don't. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to back off. I'm not. I'm going to fight for my kids' purity. I'm going to fight for the purity of what gets exposed to their eyes. I am not going to bow down and listen to this, well, they're going to see it anyway. You know, it's all over the place. We have a we have a very highly sexed society, you know, so, you know, there's really not much you can do. Baloney. There's a lot we can do. And one of them is that we obviously have to fight. We have to fight for what we know is right. And so, Jen, I love what you were saying, that, you know, our culture, there's a trend of rudeness. Rudeness. It's not a trend of boldness. It's a trend of rudeness, where there is words that are coming out of judgment. Because I'll tell you this, the church largely judges people who are outspoken. And they judge that as being boisterous. No. The boldness, the righteous are as bold as a lion. And we cannot confuse that characteristic with rudeness. We cannot. And there's a lot of rude programming, Jen. Don't you agree, on television?
Oh, absolutely.
And in movies.
And even on social media, on Facebook, it's just rampant.
Oh.
It's like a cultural cry for either a spiritual connection or just understanding who people are, understanding themselves.
Yep. I totally agree. And I see a lot of rudeness with the church. You know, for example, let's go back has it been a year already since the movie Noah came out? Before the church saw the movie, largely, they were rudely judging a film they had not seen. Rudely judging it. Then some of them went and saw it, and they rudely missed the whole point with all of their judgmental rudeness instead of righteous boldness. Both of those things produce fruit. And so those that rudely judged, misjudged, prejudged, and came across as hypocritical bigots did not help to further the gospel. They didn't further love. They furthered judgment and hatred and malice. They exalted themselves. Versus true boldness says, thank you, Hollywood. You told at least part of the story. And I don't know if you know this, but the weeks following that movie coming out, there was a huge spike of people reading the Bible and people who have never even picked up the Bible that got a Bible and wanted to go, I wonder what that actually says. Just a massive increase of the Bible going out. But of course, the bigoted, arrogant, rude, so-called Christians or Catholics or whatever, those people did nothing besides show themselves to be rude and have others look at them and go, you know, I don't want to be like those people. In fact, I can't tell you, Jen, I don't know if you saw this on Facebook during all of this turmoil about Noah, hilarious, that so many unbelievers said, you're the reason why I don't believe in God. And that was because of rudeness. You're the reason I don't believe in God. You're the reason I don't go to church. And it was because of the Christians and their rude responses to a movie they hadn't even seen yet, or those that did see it, they missed the point. They missed the point altogether. So, Jen, wow, love your comment. Absolutely love your comment. You are right on. And yes, we are in a culture of rudeness. And unfortunately, the so-called church that doesn't read their Bible, they don't understand that boldness is in righteousness and how that gets played out, what that looks like. It's actually humility and meekness as well, which is great strength, not weakness. And that rudeness is unacceptable at all times, right? 1 Corinthians 13, love is not rude, period. Really good advice. Love it, Jen. Nice little angle you brought into this conversation. Beautiful. Well, yeah, I hope you're learning something today. I hope you are. There is a balance. There is a balance, and you do not want to be on the wrong side of being outspoken. You want to be on the right side. It isn't to say that we all make mistakes in that area, but if you've been rude to somebody, hey, why don't you pick up the phone right now and call and say, I'm sorry. And if you've been rude, especially on social media, that might be a really good thing. In fact, Jen, it might be good for you to say, you know, I might have been rude on Facebook sometime. Please forgive me. It might set a trend of people boldly saying, please forgive me on Facebook. Imagine that. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, this is Dani Johnson. Let me ask you something. Do you dream about doing hair and makeup professionally? Have you ever noticed that one stylist can charge $20 for a service and another can charge $200 and they're both on the same street? What's the difference? Their skill. One has invested into higher level of skill beyond the basic training that is offered out there. If you want to do hair and makeup, why start at the bottom? You can learn expert skills and earn professional money doing something you absolutely love. That's why I'm excited about XMH Beauty. Xtina Harmsworth has a track record of results, a professional hair and makeup artist working with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. She wants to help you achieve your dreams by teaching you her professional beauty techniques and insider secrets that will set you apart from everyone else. So don't sit on your dream another minute. Learn from the best. Get in touch with Xtina today. XMHbeauty.com. Again, that's XMHbeauty.com. For families in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua, life is filled with fear and struggle. They don't have enough food for their kids, clean water is hard to find, and they're living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel on top of mining tunnels that could explode and sink at any moment. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming this village. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha to see how you can help. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org, and click on Santa Pancha.
Even if it feels like no one else cares, there is one person in your corner.
The wicked flee when no one is pursuing them, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. My friend, today I know that you learned that boldness is not rudeness, and in judgment of those who are rude, if you have buried your righteous boldness, it's time to pick it up, brush it off, and get going. You need it. You need it to reach your destiny, and it's going to be worth it. It might be that you want to boldly stand against abortion, but you're afraid to make those posts on your social media. You're afraid to stand. I'm telling you The world needs you to stand for what is right, noble, and pure. Let's say that your boldness, that there's something in you and you have a passion against pornography. Then you need to boldly stand and tell the truth about pornography. And maybe you've been affected by it. And maybe you should tell your story of what you're coming out of. Maybe it is that you've had an addiction before, but man, you just sit there quietly at church every day, not telling anybody about how God has delivered you from that addiction, where the addiction was pornography or drugs or food or shopping or sex. Be bold and share that story with other people. It inspires the hurting world that is out there, and you'd be amazed who would come to you and say, how did you do that? I need help. There is a people that you're supposed to be helping, a people you are supposed to be touching, a people that you're supposed to be an example for. And here's another thing. Maybe you're trying to climb your way out of an addiction, a secret little hidden addiction that nobody knows about. Maybe that little secret hidden addiction happens in the shower. Maybe that secret little addiction happens in your bed. Maybe that secret addiction happens just about everywhere you go. And you're wanting to climb out of it? You need to boldly look for accountability partners. You see, it takes boldness to confess your weaknesses and to get free. It does. Freedom comes to those who are bold. So you need to boldly ask for help and say, I am struggling with this secret little addiction that nobody knows about. That takes boldness, courage, and meekness to humble yourself and say, I need help. You can do that. Listen, if you don't have anyone to do it with, you can do it with our community. We have an amazing community. If you haven't yet come over and said hello on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, come over. There's nearly 300,000 people that gather on Facebook, people who are encouraging one another, edifying one another, people with all kinds of weaknesses and dirty, filthy, nasty pasts who come over there, they congregate there, and they encourage one another. There are people who have had some incredible success as they came forward boldly and said, I need help. I can't do this on my own. I keep messing up. So listen up, friend. It takes boldness in order for you to break free from bondage. It takes boldness in order for you to reach your destiny. And today's the day to start. It is the day to start. And it's the day that you get an example of what true boldness is supposed to look like. So, well, listen up, friend. That's all for today. I hope that today was a blessing to you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless you. Be bold. Go after it. God bless. Bye.
If you've ever wanted to make millions, change the world, be the voice for the voiceless, and have a blast doing it, then you need to spend some time with this lady right here. She's been doing it for years, and she'll show you how. This is the Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.